Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show Action Edition, where we feature feedback from you, our listeners. I'm here with my old buddy Larry. Larry, tell me, what's been going on?
Well, John, I've been working on this house that I bought, and I was actually doing a little lawn maintenance on this house, right? So I was out cutting my lawn, and I kind of noticed something, and it reminded me of this email. We got an email from Kim, and Kim wanted he basically asked a question. He said, could you tell me when I need to sharpen my lawnmower blade, and how do I go about doing it? And so I thought it was kind of a perfect segue into this thing, because I was out there cutting my lawn and I actually had to sharpen my blade. So I just I thought we'd do a quick tip on lawnmower blades and what you need to do. So, and John, you've done a lot of this as well. So let's talk about why number one, why do we sharpen a lawnmower blade?
It really is. When I was a kid, my it was always when the grass blades started to split at the top. That was like, my dad would be like, time to sharpen the blades. It wasn't a clean cut, and it's not really good for the grass when it splits like that. So that's one of the indications that your lawnmower blades need to be sharpened. It starts to pull the grass instead of cut it, and it's obviously better for the machine too.
Yeah, less work, right?
A lot less work, and the end product of cutting grass, it's going to look better. Because with a split blade, the split grass, it tends to get yellow on the top, or brown where it's trying to heal itself, and your grass kind of won't take on a real professional appearance.
Or in my case, the weeds. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
So it's basically, it's better for the grass. It's definitely easier on the machine, right? A sharpened saw, it's just like using a saw. A sharp saw cuts a lot easier than a dull saw, right? And then it looks better too. So, and really all of those things are true. Years ago, I think I told you this, but I worked for a landscape company, and we cut lawns, and we would sharpen our blades every single day. And we did that because we would cut more grass in a day than most people cut all summer. So, every single day we would take the blades off the mowers and we would sharpen them up. But we wanted to give you some tips on doing that actual process, right, John? And you've done it a lot and I've done it a lot, so we thought we'd make a real good quick trip out of it. What's our first tip, John, as far as that goes? So what do you need to do, right? So you've determined you need to sharpen your blade. Now what do you do?
Yeah, I will tell you one thing just from the ex-mechanic in me is you better take the spark plug wire off, okay? If you're gonna do this thing, that just saying right there, because most of these gas mowers have magnetos on them, and you don't want that thing kicking over while you got your hands on that blade.
Yeah, you don't even want it you really want to be careful that it doesn't even just cycle on a piston. Now I just bought an electric lawnmower, John, so now I make sure I pull the battery out, right? So there's no battery in it. No way to power it up. Right.
Exactly. Somehow you have to make that machine inert.
Right.
You got before you go sticking your hands in a blade.
So here's one that you said, John, that I kind of laughed at, but as I thought about it, it's true, right? You need to make sure you mark the bottom of the blade. So as you,
it is true.
It's true. As you look at
if you're doing it enough, right? If you're doing it enough, you'll know how the blade goes back on. But there's one right way and there's a wrong way to put the blade on.
That's correct. And it's funny that you said that, and I totally overlooked it because it comes back from working in the commercial shop, right? When you do it every single day, you don't even think about that. But for you out there, if you're only doing it once, what do you think you need to do it once or twice a season, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It just kind of depends. You're only going to do this every so often. So, yeah, just take a Sharpie or something and mark. Just write bottom.
Yeah, right.
Bottom. Simple, right? So one of the other things we said, too, is you need to support the blade, right? So when you're going to need a wrench, you're going to need some kind. Usually it's a wrench. It's a good size wrench. It's usually at least a 9/16. And usually I use a 1/2 inch wrench because usually they're pretty tight, right? Because that bolts up underneath there and it's just getting all kinds of water and junk on it, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're going to rust up
yeah, they get bound a little bit. And the other thing is that they're always under torque, right? So because the blade's swinging on it, it's constant. They get really tight. So. You just said it. I always spray a little penetrating oil up in there. I particularly use PB Blaster, but there's a million different kinds of penetrating oil. So you just spray a little penetrating oil on it, tap on it with the wrench a couple of times, just to get it kind of loosened up. But you said something, and it's true. I didn't think about it, but you said actually take a piece of 2x4 and just kind of wedge that blade in there so the blade doesn't turn, and that's a really good piece of advice. And be careful. Do be careful because even a dull blade is still a blade, right? So it's still, it's not super sharp, or, well, I guess it depends how many sticks you've run over. They can be pretty dull. But
treat it, I just treat it like it's a swinging knife.
Well, isn't that what it is? Well, when I get done with them, it's a swinging razor blade. But anyway,
I mean, that's what it is. And you just have to be really careful. Even sometimes when I look at these blades, I'll even start off by even putting some tape across the cutting edge of the blade.
Yeah. Another use for blue tape. There we go.
Another use for blue tape. Bingo. And just to make sure, but always put a 2x4 in there. Don't use your foot and your legs and stuff like that where you're holding the blade with a tennis shoe, and your right foot and you're yanking on it with the, Don't do
I'm visualizing this. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So you get the blade off, right? Now what do you do?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to take it. It depends upon how bad the blade is. If it's not all that bad with big nicks and gouges, you can just use a flat file.
You have not seen my lawnmower blade, have you?
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, so if it's got a lot of nicks and gouges, then you're going to have to move on to some type of power tool like a grinder, a bench grinder or something like that, and just really going to have to take it down. Now, just know, right, that after you're taking it down, you're taking metal off of one side more than you might be taking metal off the other side, and these blades need to be balanced. So.
Right, and so I generally purposely use a 4-inch angle grinder, just the regular kind of grinders, and you really only take metal off one side. They are only one side needs to be sharp, but you do have to be careful, and you have to so we did it a lot. So I'm not going to suggest that anybody uses a grinder, but you can use a bench grinder or an angle grinder, and I would say if you've never done it or if you've done it a couple of times, just watch how much you take off because you can really take a lot. These are not this is not surgical steel. It's pretty soft steel.
No, it's very soft. Very soft.
You can take a lot off one side and not so much off the other side. And so as you said, it does help to be balanced. Now, if you've done it a number of times, you can get pretty good. Like we never balanced them because we didn't really need to. We could tell. When you do it every day, you get really good at it, right? So you could tell how much you take off. But John, how do you balance the blade?
So just drive a nail a little bit into the wall and just hang the blade by the center hole and see if it tilts, and you need to balance it out. It's like it's like a propeller. It needs to be balanced, or you're gonna shake that thing apart when you reinstall it.
Yeah, you'll shake your machine apart, which is not good for it.
So if it's heavy on one side, keep grinding on that side. Get it down. And till that blade kind of wants to sit in any position that you put it in,
right
on the nail.
And so there are actual blade balancers if you want to go buy one.
Of course.
And this and that. But
the shade tree mechanic in me is like drive a nail in and hang it, and you'll get really 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 close.
I've got to say I like when you do it in the kitchen the best because you drive that nail right above the sink and then you hang your blade.
Right. Yeah. Of course. And give yourself
And then
give yourself something to talk about to the wife later on.
Yeah, right. It's like how to win friends and influence people.
Right.
So balance it up. And so if all of this sounds, intimidating, as it were, don't hesitate to pay somebody. I mean, what do they charge? They don't charge hardly anything to cut or to balance a blade up. I mean, I think you get away with $10, $12 probably. Is that about right?
It probably is somewhere around there. Take it down to a lawnmower place if you don't feel comfortable grinding the blades and stuff. But it's very easy, very DIY stuff. I think you should take a shot at. But if you don't, they'll be happy to do it for you. And like you said, it's not that expensive.
Yeah, and go backwards through all the steps when you go to put it back on. Oh, one other thing, don't lose the nut. Or the bolt. It's usually a bolt. But don't lose. Make sure you don't lose that bolt. Oh, because sometimes they're fine threads. Usually the ones I've had all have been fine threads. Really tough to replace. So don't lose the nut. A little blue painter's tape and tape it to the handle. Works like a champ, right?
There you go.
So, all right. Anything else on sharpening blades, John?
No, I think that's a little good overview, and I think at this point during summer months, I think it's a good thing for everybody to kind of pay attention to. After all especially in my case, all the sticks and things have fallen out of the branches have fallen out of the tree, and I've been cutting them up.
Yeah,
me
I
too. Do it myself.
Here's a funny story. So the other day, so we're out cutting the lawn, and so we have a dog mat out there. It's a piece of old carpet. Let me rephrase it. It was a piece of old carpet until the lawnmower grabbed it.
Yeah.
Now it's a piece of trash. Anyway, and be careful what you run over with your lawnmower, particularly if it's parts of your body.
Right. Not your toes.
Right, exactly. All right, well, folks, don't forget to join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros. Join in the conversation. Send us an email, questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show, or go to our homepage. Leave us a voice message. That's at handymanprosradioshow.com. Drop us a line. We'd love to answer your questions for you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.